What's going on, everybody? How are you doing today? So, there's a interesting book that I read, and it's probably my favorite book that I've ever read. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. The premise of the story is that every little bit of effort that we put into something matters and counts. And as seemingly insignificant as our actions may be, in the grand scheme of things, in the long run, throughout the long haul, everything that we do makes a big difference. That concept is super fascinating to me. It's obvious, but also from like a numbers perspective, it's powerful. I've talked about this before in the videos that I've made. Um, a term that I've used a couple times is compounding interest, and it's something that a lot of investors are familiar with. So, like in the market, for instance, if you invest a certain amount of money over time, that money will grow in value. And the more that you invest into the market, as time goes on, the returns that you get are not going to be linear. They're going to be exponential. Because, as a general rule of thumb, a return on a good long-term growth stock is around 8% in the long run, like in the S&P 500, for instance. Some people say it's 12%. Let's take off 4% for inflation. So let's say that you get like a net 8% return. 8% of 1,000 is going to be larger than 8% of 100. 8% of a million is going to be larger than 8% of 100,000. So you get the idea, right? The more that you invest in the longer and sooner so the sooner you put things in, right? The sooner that you put money in, the bigger advantage you have because the longer it's going to be in, the longer that money is going to grow. And the longer that that money grows, the more of a return you're going to get. It's the same thing with the self-development realm, right? So for instance, if I start and I have like a daytime job, like a 40-hour a week job, and after I get home, if I invest 10 to 15 minutes into studying aspects of where I want to be, where I'm hoping to grow and develop, over time, it's going to make a huge difference. From day to day, if you think about just going home and studying for 10 extra minutes after your shift, it's not going to make much of a difference. But over the weeks, months, and years, that's going to make a huge and significant difference in the long haul. That basically is that's the message that the book holds. So the cool thing about getting a slight edge is you don't have to invest every day a ton of effort and energy. It's the decisions that we make little by little that make a big difference. Let me give you an example of something that happened to me last night. I was hanging out with a friend and I was offered to do marijuana with him, like a lower dose of marijuana. I really don't drink or do any sort of drugs or marijuana. Some people like to separate marijuana from drugs. But I chose not to indulge myself because I had that thought in my mind that if I make this decision to steer clear of doing this recreational substance, it's going to make a difference in the rest of the productivity for my weekend. Even though I'm relaxing, there are things that I have to get done. And so I got home from hanging out with this friend. They chose to do marijuana, even though I chose not to. I respectfully and politely declined. I got to bed 2 hours earlier than them. I woke up 3 to 4 hours earlier than they did, and I didn't wake up groggy. I woke up, I was productive, I went about my day, got a whole lot more done than they did, and they came to me and said, "Oh, you made the right decision. I shouldn't have chosen to do this." And in the moment, it can be like, I want to let loose. And the purpose of this video is not to say that you can't let loose every once in a while and choose to imbibe or do whatever you're going to do. But before you make those decisions, it's important to it's important to think about the effect that they're going to have. Even if they're small and insignificant in the short term, they're going to make a big difference in the long term. So let's say, for instance, every weekend, putting myself into that example, I chose to not indulge, and that person did choose to indulge. You can see 5 more hours of essentially productivity and less laziness that I had as a result of feeling like I have to recover from the decision that I made over weeks, even over a couple weeks, it'll make a difference, right? I can get ahead in terms of where I want to go next with my job, my career. I can do personal development things. I can work out. I can have a clearer, more cognizant ability. I can be more cognizant. I can have a better ability to make smart and informed decisions. So, again, allow yourself to relax and have a good time, but understand the consequence of your actions for choosing to do certain things. So for me, for instance, I might choose to have a glass of wine every once in a while, as opposed to having some like multiple glasses of wine or doing other substances, because that's not going to set me back as much. And lives are generally pretty long when we look at it from the year plus perspective. And so an effective way to get ahead and stay ahead of people, um, and just be more competitive in whatever market that you're in is to realize, okay, every decision that I make counts towards the end result. And what's the end result? The end result is whatever you want it to be. Reaching your goals faster, going further, being more motivated, etc., etc. Think about that. Just wanted to share that thought with you because it's something that I've been digesting. It's a super good book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I would highly endorse you reading it. I'm not sponsored in any way by Jeff, but it's a super impactful book I've read. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hope you guys had a great week, and I'll talk with you soon.